following announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
Remember this, when you're the greatest fighter in the world today, they got a name for you. They don't call you a great fighter, they call you Chael Sonnen and beat me, if you can.
And after tonight, none of you in this ring will ever again!
You're talking to the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, kid stealing, woo, wheeling dealing, limousine riding, jet flying, son of a gun, and I'm having a hard time holding these alligators down. Woo!
I'm gonna drink a Coors Light. That's a Coors Light because Bud Light won't pay me nothing.
And I have in my cold beer. You have your cold beer? If not, you are fucking jabroni.
Wash it down with 1 beer, 2 beers, 3 beers, a shot of whiskey.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
The following announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
Welcome to the Filthy FRB Show. We're joined, of course, with Filthy Tom Lawlor and the Duff Man.
How did Tom get... Wait, time out.
I need to introduce you first. Todd Duffee.
I don't even care.
Go ahead.
It's too late. You're already recording.
Yeah.
How did you let Tom be the first in the name of the podcast? Like, how'd you do that?
Well, I figured, since he's actually stepped in the octagon and he's been employed with them for 6 or 7 years that
Brian, you break news.
Yeah, but, that's still it's not as impressive as fighting in a cage against somebody that wants to hurt you.
Brian, you serve a real purpose.
Todd, Brian breaks the news, I break the bones. All right, so I get to be first.
Tom, I hear what you're saying, but we got a lot to talk about, buddy, because I got some problems with you, sir.
All right.
You used to be a hero of mine. I guess I should introduce you. Who is this? Go ahead, Brian.
Well, this is UFC heavyweight Todd Duffee, and I don't know if you're going to do the interview or just go with it.
I haven't decided yet. We'll work on this. So, all right, Tom, I want you to know some things.
All right.
Got a lot of bones to be picked. Talking about breaking bones, we got bones to pick. So,
go ahead and lay it on me.
Tom, I grew up, you were kind of like a folklore in my early MMA days. It's like Tom Lawlor, man, that guy knew grappling. He really knew grappling. He was the man. And then I talked you up, and this is no personal blow. I understand what it is to lose a fight, And then I had to watch you get. So this is when you started to slowly decline to me, and like the value of you as a person, basically. When I had to watch, I talked you up so big. I was in the crowd. I think it was in a Vegas fight when Chris Weidman. I know he's a champion or whatever now, but there's no excuse. I told everyone that you were going to submit him. And I feel like you got submitted. Is that correct?
No, well, I did not submit. I went unconscious.
Yes. Listen, Tom, I hung on to that. Because I was like, you know what? He's a man. He did not quit. Jesus made him stop. So start to decline to me as a character, and then our mutual friend Kurt Schrout brings your name up to me. Oh wait, no. Then you show up at my apartment. I'm in the middle of a fight with my girlfriend who lives with me.
Hold on, one second, Tom.
You just barged in. Tom. Tom, you just barged in with Whitehead like you own the joint. We never even met, and I was excited. To meet you.
Is this Mike Whitehead that's incarcerated right now?
But I was.
I'm not sure
out of jail. He's doing well. He's in Oregon, I believe.
Oh, okay. So he's out of jail?
Yeah.
Okay.
He is. So then
go ahead.
I have to go into the back room. I can't even hear what you're saying because it doesn't matter. I have to go to the back room and have a serious 5-minute discussion with my ex-girlfriend, I guess, and kick you out of my house, basically. It was terrible for me. And so I felt bad. You know, this was Tom Lawlor. Like, you were this grappling wizard. And I had a lot of respect for you, Tom, and it hurt me to kick you guys out. That's how I recall it. Maybe you recall it different. I'll give you a chance to speak in a minute. And then our mutual friend, Kurt Schrout, brings your name up to me again and mentions that you may be going on a trip with us to Japan, and my boyhood dreams are back. I'm excited. I feel good. I'm like, Tom Lawlor, 10 days. Matt Brown and Tom Lawlor are going to be there. Those guys I look up to. Those guys are men amongst men. And what do you do, Tom? Go ahead and tell everybody. Tell us what happened.
I declined to go on the trip, is what happened, Todd. I was basically I was injured.
What does that mean, Tom? You let down the troops. Why did you do that?
Let's be honest. None of those troops would have been there to see me. They're all there to see Matt Brown. That guy eats more shoe than anyone.
At least 3 housewives ask about you. Little Asian ladies ask, where's Tom Lawlor? And so, you know what we did? Kurt was Tom Lawlor. He pretended to be you. He shaved his head.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Todd, where did you go on that trip? Exactly.
All over Japan. I don't remember. A bunch of different, 8 different places. It was cool. It was a good time, though.
Wow, that sounds...
Let's focus.
Sounds like you have a lot of memories from that. You can't even remember the places you...
That's not the important one. Damn it.
But it was Japan.
Yeah.
No, but Tom, why didn't you go? I mean, you had a pretty good excuse from what I remember you telling me.
Yeah.
Tell us why you let down America.
I was recovering from a torn ACL, and I had the surgery scheduled around the same time that I would have gone on the trip. I wouldn't have been able to do anything, Todd. There's no way I would have been able to even – I couldn't even have barged into your room while you were pillaging a woman years ago at your house. I mean, none of that would have happened.
I was in a heated conversation. There was no pillaging going on. It was a heated, serious, relationship-based conversation, as I recall. Anyways.
Somebody was in heat.
Torn ACL? Dude, I tore my ACL. You know what I did? I got up off the mat and said, man, I think I popped my knee. And I never had surgery. Really?
Now, which fight was this?
No, it was I was grappling with somebody at ACL. I was 22. That's not important. Tom, you let down America. That's what I want to talk about. How do you have you made up for that? Did you go? Did you go to Afghanistan or Iraq? What?
Yes, actually, I did. I did go to Afghanistan last January. I went to Afghanistan and Kuwait, and I'm actually scheduled to go on another tour upcoming here, Todd, with my doppelganger, Kurt Schrout.
Now, who is Kurt Schrout?
I was invited on this tour. I just said, are you going in April?
I believe it's February.
Yeah, it's the end of February. I'm really sad I can't be there. I was supposed to be there, and now it's your turn. Go ahead and bash me.
I was actually, I actually told Kurt that I would not go on the trip if you were going, so I'm glad that...
Really? You're glad that I declined, because that's what happened. Just so you know, I had to text through it.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
So, Todd, when you were pillaging this young lady, Filthy Tom Lawlor...
Brian, don't waste your questions. Remember, we only have 5.
Okay. Well, this is a good one, though. So you're humbling this young lady, old country way, as the Iron Sheik would say, and Tom just walks right through the door?
That's how it felt. It was really Whitehead first. And you can imagine this big... Whitehead is 290 back then. Beard, mohawk. It was a scary moment. Luckily, she was aware of who Mike Whitehead was. They had met. There was no pill. It was a conversation. One at that. She was
Todd, I'm almost positive that you were wearing a Viking helmet with 2 horns coming out. And
Tom, that's how I hang out in my apartment. That's how I hang out. Guess what I'm wearing right now? Ask me. Waiting.
You better ask Tom, because I only got 4 more questions left with him.
Yeah. I'm not going to guess what you're wearing right now.
All right, well, I'll tell you. So I'm sitting here in a gifted wife beater and a heart rate monitor on. No pants. That's what I'm wearing.
Just free balling, or?
No, I like to have like tight underwear on it, just to support. It's nice. All right, so let's do this podcast. I'll quit messing around, guys. Go ahead.
All right. Well, we've been recording for 10 minutes, but
that's fine.
So Todd, you've trained at every major camp. I mean, ATT, Extreme Couture, the one in Colorado that Carwin was at, AKA Bobby Heenan family. I mean, am I missing any?
Hardcore gym. It's hard to say. I feel like you're leaving more out than anything. I never got to go train with the Golden Glory crew. Thank God, that could have really ended my career. Yeah, no, keep going. You got a question behind that?
So, were you a big football prospect in high school? Like, how? What's your
I should have been probably. Like, I was a stud. Like, I should have been, but like the team that I was on, we had 17 kids on the entire team. Like, they were talking about like getting rid of the football program before this. Like, it was sort of like a small town community. And this is my senior year. I was like a decent prospect, so it's like recruits don't come out of Southern Illinois. You know what I mean? Like, it's just unheard of, and it's just not, they don't recruit there. But I did get some decent looks. Like, I think Mizzou looked at me, U of I. They had like conversations with me at least. But I ended up leaving high school early, and I wanted to stay close home to mom. So like, I ended up going to SIUC, Southern Illinois University of Carbondale, to go play. They were like D1 AA, but they were like last year's national champs. So I thought I would like to be able to start immediately and kind of just go that route. And I'd be able to stay close to home. Thank God that didn't work out.
Well, what happened?
So really what happened, I was in doing spring training. I got to put my helmet on one day of practice, and I was having trouble with one of my arms. I had bad stingers from high school. And so like I was having trouble like on my bench press. I'd like press one side up and the other side would like take some sweet time. So the trainer makes me go get checked out. I'm like just turned 18-year-old kid, trying to prove himself or whatever. And trainer goes and makes me checked out. They end up giving me an MRI, and it shows old cervical fractures. And so they were able to yank my scholarship away in my spot and give it to Brandon Jacobs, who ended up Brandon Jacobs was like this big stud guy who got in trouble at some D1 school and had to move down to D1 AA because nobody wanted to deal with him.
Is it the guy that
playing for like?
Was he the running back for the Giants?
Yeah, he ended up playing for like the Giants, but then he had trouble. Like I read recently, like he ended up he had to sit out a year, and he's like I don't know, I can't say. So sorry, Brandon, I'm not trying to talk badly about you, but he's like kind of a troubled career, I think. Like he's a star athlete, like he was a stud. You'd have to tell me more, but that's the guy, yeah, Brandon Jacobs. So they ended up yanking my scholarship and giving it to him, thinking that I would stick around because I was like a hometown kid. I grew up like 15 minutes from away from this college or whatever, but I didn't. I left.
But Tom, don't you think that was a good idea to yank his scholarship to give it to a guy that made it to the NFL?
I don't see how you can look at it any other way. I mean, quite frankly, when you were talking, Todd, about how not a lot of people get recruited out of Southern Illinois, right? Maybe there's a reason why. Did you ever think about that?
Well, yeah.
I grew up.
Yeah, I think about it often, yes.
Todd, I went to school in a state that is loaded with football powerhouse programs in Florida. Right?
Uh-huh.
You should know that. You live down there, right?
Sort of, yeah. That's another story to be told later, I guess. Yeah.
Well, we have time.
Oh, boy.
But you could see the level of athletes that come out of that state, right?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. They're okay. That's what's it. I was a diamond in the rough, Tom. Like, what do you want? Like, I was the rose that grew through the crack, the concrete crack. I don't know how you don't see that.
Well, I see it now.
All right, thank you, Tom.
Well said.
So where are you living now?
So I had some like real bad health issues again from my fight, this last fight. So at the end of my fight, like a month before we closed down my gym, I was running me and my partner, we opened up a group fitness gym down in Boca Raton. I think it's been well put out there or whatever. And we ended up closing it down probably like about a month before my fight. I don't even want to get into that, but so we ended up closing the gym down. So that was really like what was kind of keeping me down there, keeping me like low financially and all that stuff. So I kind of am sitting. So after my fight, whatever, I deal with these health issues. I'm like, oh, I'm going to go back to my mom, spend some time in Atlanta. I had to do a quick little procedure on my knee. I'm already recovered from it. It was just like a week recovery. I thought it was going to be a little more involved. So I'm sitting at my mom's in Atlanta trying to figure out my next move. It's a pivotal point in my life, I think.
Well, at least you're with the UFC, though, right? You know, you beat this guy, Anthony Hamilton, that people were pretty bullish on, and you came in there and finished him pretty impressively.
Yeah, I was shocked, man. He was willing to trade with me, and at some moment I relaxed as soon as I realized it. Like, I was pretty, you can even see it in the first couple of exchanges, I was pretty tense, and then that last exchange, there was like a dual exchange, like where I threw like a 1-2-3, and he backed away from it, and I shuffled in and finished. But like that's about like right when I relaxed in the fight, and I got, you know, I guess I don't know if you call it luck, but I mean, it ended up being an easier night than I expected. Yeah, I got the finish.
Yeah, I guess it was like 2009. I was out in Portland, Oregon, and you were facing Tim Hague, I think, and you knocked him out in like 7 seconds. And after the fight, Dana said that, you know, you were going to be fast tracked. You remember that comment from Dana?
I try to forget about it because it's just hurt emotionally to think about what could have been. And, you know, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any memories of that, Tom? That was a pretty nice knockout.
Yeah, memory. I mean, it was a long time ago, and the fight did go on for a very long time. So you could really gather a whole lot about both guys from that 7-second fight that went on. I do remember that, and to jump forward a little bit, and not to bring this interview down, but I was present for Todd for your next fight.
Oh God!
On the
bring it up live. Deserve this. Let's go.
Well, hey, you want to bring up? I mean, I got laid out by Chris Weidman there. I mean, but what do you expect from enhancement talent like myself? You know, I'm like the well, I was going to say the Steve Lombardi of the UFC, but I'm
not
straight.
You're not gay, yeah.
No, not that I know of. But maybe I just haven't met the right guy yet. So, yeah, Todd, I was at your next fight, and it was one of the more impressive performances, to be honest, that I've seen in the heavyweight division up until the end. And then it kind of marked your departure from the UFC for a while, and you went on to fight for not only Dream, but probably the #1 promotion in world history, which was Super Fight League. So if we can fast forward to your experiences with the Super Fight League, or as they say, Super Fight League. Would be,
God, you remember that sweet song? They still have that, you think?
I have it on my iPad.
That's all that matters. What do you want to know about that, Tom?
Everything.
Did Ken Pavia give you that?
Yeah, Kim Pavia was involved. That's enough said. I think that you can just kind of paint the picture from there.
So, like after you lost to Mike Russo, I mean, you weren't cut immediately. I mean, I heard that you said something to some Zuffa employee, and like they went and told on you to somebody. I mean, is that like along the lines, or is that just hearsay?
I would say my best answer in this pivotal moment is no comment. I don't know, man. I really don't have a, like all I know is that my dad died the following week after that fight, and my best friend died, and I moved cities, and then like a month later, we're like a month later from Dad dying, moving in cities, and then I got cut, and the rest is just kind of a blur. That's all I can really, that was the downward spiral. Oh.
And coincidentally, that is about around that same time that you met me. So, I'm glad that I could play a part in bringing you down. Well, you said that I was a hero of yours, and then I let you down. So it kind of falls in line with that exact timeline. So, if I played any part in that.
To hear that you're making it up to the troops again, you're going to double up on the second trip, which the second trip kind of sounds more like a vacation, from my understanding, speaking with Kurt. You keep bringing me back in, man. That's all I'm saying. You could be a hero.
You must have very low standards.
You have no idea.
But Todd, after you got released there from the UFC, you did get an opportunity in Dream, as Tom mentioned. And I had a lot of people ask me on Twitter when I mentioned that we would be talking with you. Was that? I mean, I know Overeem. He's a nice guy. I consider him a friend. But was that fight for real? I mean, it just kind of looked. I mean, I know he was really good.
I've had best friends. Yeah. No, man, I'll be honest. I've had best friends ask me that because it does. Yeah, I get it. Man, so I guess there's a lot of context and things that go into that fight. Like, I mean, I took the fight on 8-9 days notice. Yeah. At the most. They talked to me about it 9 days out, and I think I took it Christmas Eve night, and I was on a plane the day after Christmas to Japan. I just got on shooting the movie Never Back Down. I rehabbed my knee during the shooting of the movie. I just started training at Denver, so like this is a bad scenario all around. And I actually told Monty, I don't want to ruffle any feathers. I told Monty, hey, I was interested in that fight if I could get paid right. When I found out I kind of shortchanged myself, I was like, man, I don't want to take this fight. This is dumb. But I do want to fight Alistair. He's like the best in the world at the time. I'll skip a couple sentences in here and you guys can fill in whatever. So I ended up taking the fight. I don't get paid what I wanted. Nothing really works out how it should in my favor at all. I'm out in Japan. We're still arguing in the locker room about how long the rounds are going to be. I'm not in shape. I'm 23. My confidence is crushed as a person. I had just gone through all that mess. And it was a real fight, sadly. I did not go out there and shoot. That was not my game plan. My game plan was catching. And that was probably, I thought I didn't have much of a game plan. I was just in there. I felt like I was on drugs. I was not. But I was so jacked out of my mind mentally, I was just so fired up, and I let the moment kind of dwarf me. I went out there, stormed across the ring. He drops me, actually, with a straight right hand. It's hard to see on film. He doesn't drop me, but it, knocked me off balance enough that I shoot off of that right hand, and I see a big Alistair over me, and I just pop back up. I'm like, yeah, no thanks. I'm still pressing for that action because I think I have a 10-minute round when really I only have a 5-minute round, and I knew I could not make it 10 minutes. At the time, at least that was my mindset. And as soon as I realized I needed to calm down, I allowed him to back me up. Everybody thinks that knee's what finished me or whatever. The knee never even hurt. I blocked the knee. It just picked me up because it was forceful enough to get me off about an inch off the ground. And when it did that, it froze me when I landed, and that's when he cleaned me up with that combination. I wish I could tell you that I bet on myself or I bet on Alistair, but nah, man, he beat me. It sucks. That's my story.
Now, what were your memories of that
more days
fight, Tom?
Mike Whitehead was there.
I just remember that it was a short fight, but it's kind of refreshing in a way, and it sounds bad to say that actually, but it's kind of refreshing in a way to hear somebody be so honest about the way that stuff outside of the cage affects you when you're in there. You get a lot of very standard answers from fighters when it comes to what went wrong in the fight, and they don't, nothing, the guy was just better or this or that. But there are a lot of things that happen outside the cage that affect you as a person, and maybe not even physically, because obviously you looked in great shape there, Todd, almost as good a shape as me, not quite, but to hear that people have other problems that affect them outside the cage, it's kind of refreshing as a fighter to hear that, because I go through some of the same issues, maybe not on the same level as you have been through, but all around there's always something going on outside of the cage that's going to affect your performance in there.
Right. I think people fail to realize that that's almost the more important part of the whole deal. As I got older, like after that experience, I was like 23. I was still immature in a lot of ways. Like I said, the moment dwarfed me. That's what happened. I mean, Alistair Yang, yes, he beat me. Yes, he was a highly skilled, but there was not even a fight that occurred as far as I was, the way you look at it, 17 seconds. There was no but the moment, I allowed the moment to dwarf me because of the other outside aspects. And I really realized that your personal life is almost more important than how well you're trained going into a fight almost. After that moment, I realized how important the stability of having a good system around you, good people around you, to make sure that your mind is clear, that you can just perform. But yeah, and I guess refreshing, I don't know.
So after the fight with Alistair, you were on the shelf for, 16 months?
Dude, I don't remember. Yeah, I'd have to look at my own timeline on the Wiki or something to figure that out. It was all blurred. Yeah, I guess I was on the floor. Yeah, I just couldn't get fights. Like I was supposed to fight Bob Sapp. I was supposed to fight this guy, that guy. I just could not get fights. It was like when Dana, I guess, kind of came out and said I had a bad attitude, it kind of almost blackballed me from the sport in a lot of ways. To be honest, I couldn't get promoters to talk to me. I was literally going down MMA.tv's, they have that ticker of the promotional events that are coming up, and calling every single promoter and saying, listen, I'll fight for cheap. I just need a fight. I need to be active. And I couldn't, either they would come back and like, oh, we can't find you a worthy opponent, or I was in that gray area of basically where I was good enough that guys that were trying to get back in the UFC wouldn't fight me, but I was too good to fight any other up-and-comers that were trying to pad their record or build their record. They didn't want to because I was too dangerous of a fight. So I had a lot, and then being in the heavyweight division, it was just, I couldn't get fights, man. Like, it wasn't for lack of trying.
Yeah, so, I definitely understand that, because it's like, if a guy wants to get back in the UFC, he's got to win 3 or 4 in a row. Why the hell does he want to fight you? You take one look at your record, and like every win of yours is a knockout, and you're like, I don't want to fight that guy.
Right, I was just a risky opponent for some of those upper echelon guys that were worthy of a fight with me, and then they like, that sounds arrogant, doesn't it? Damn. Breathing on. And then just like the lower level guys didn't want any piece of me because they're trying to build their record, or they didn't have the, I wasn't, even if they did beat me, I wasn't a big enough name that meant anything at the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what happened.
Like I was in that gray area.
That's what happened with Lawlor. Weidman was ducking him for a while.
Yeah.
And then Dana put the screws to him. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, Weidman was ducking me, but unfortunately for me, he ducked under a punch and took me down and then choked me unconscious. So Brian's right in a way. However, not exactly what he meant. So yeah, Dana kind of put the screws to Weidman and made him take me out. I don't think he wanted to do it, to be honest. I think he was kind of adverse to it. He's a good Christian man. I don't think he wanted to have another man sleep with him in the cage. But, eventually that's what he had to do. So he did what he had to do. More power to him.
Did you and Wyman train, or was it just Wyman was like, man, I don't want that fight because it's a bad matchup? What was he?
Well, it's the same. That's the same thing. It's the same thing everybody says about me. It's a bad matchup. If you beat me, well, hell yeah, you're supposed to. I'm like the slowest, fattest white guy in the middleweight division. And if you lose to me, well, I mean, you just lost to the slowest, fattest white guy in the middleweight division. So
yeah, you're in that gray area because you're dangerous, but yeah, you haven't done enough to. Sorry, Tom.
I am, Todd. You are right. I am very dangerous. Unfortunately for my opponents, it usually comes in the way of a staph infection or ringworm on those lines after the fight. But yeah, I am a very, very dangerous opponent if you're trying to keep your health intact.
Hey, Hey, Tom, because I've been kind of out of the loop, man. I'm not trying to be. I'm just more trying to catch up with you. Like, what's going on with your career right now? Like, are you fighting? Have you been fighting? I'm so out of the loop on like what's going on. I'm just curious.
Yeah, my last fight was about 18, maybe even more than that now. It was last 2 Aprils ago, I believe, and I tore my ACL. Yeah, I tore my ACL, MCL, meniscus, and I had a reconstructive surgery, and I was getting ready to fight in the UFC show they had in Ireland, and unfortunately I got injured again. So now I'm here in Vegas hanging out, getting back in shape and looking forward to get back to it this summer when that Reebok money kicks in.
You're living in Vegas?
Right now, yeah.
So, like, are you out there with bitches out there? It's like Vegas has changed. Like, when I was out there that week, like, it was really interesting to see. It's like it's making a turn for the better, from what I could see. As far as like the climate of training.
Yeah, I've been training at Syndicate. My boy Vinny Magalhaes was nice enough to hook me up. I talked to Vinny while I was out there. He was sorry. Keep going. You're training at Syndicate. Go ahead. My bad. Yeah, that's about it.
So did the Vegas training scene kind of take a turn for the worse for a couple of years there? Like when Extreme Couture went in the toilet for a while?
Pretty much, and that's about the time I arrived. Naturally, that's what happens when I go to these places. It kind of
you're a camp
training dips. Yeah, I think so. Like, there's a good chance that people, it just could be the vibe that I'm walking around with. You never know. Yeah, I'm definitely because like if you look at like if you match up timing with like what's going on at each camp when I arrive, I'm not a good luck charm.
Because I think that camp in Colorado's dead now too, isn't it?
It was dying when I was. It was actually what's going on from my understanding. It was kind of dying when I got out there, and then like Elliot Marshall and like Easter Bowling. A couple of those guys have stepped up, and they're actually kind of building guys right now and doing a really good job. They've got who's that guy that fought the most times ever in a year in the UFC? That black dude from Chicago. Neil. They got Neil. They got like Mark. They're doing good from the last I heard. Like they're building things. Things are going real well. They got some cool training centers out there now. But it was dead when I got out there. It kind of died.
I can't remember the name, but they got this guy Mark Montoya who trains a couple guys that I talk with quite a bit, like Chris Camozzi and Brian Rogers in Bellator, and they're out there in Denver.
Yeah, that's at Factory.
Yeah, they're out there like.
Oh, okay.
Huh?
Yeah. Factory X. Factory X. That's what it is. Yeah. He was in the corner. Yeah. Man, what fight? I was watching a fight the other day, and he was in somebody's corner who I was kind of surprised. It's one of those guys from out in Colorado. I'll have to think of who it was.
He also worked with Joe Warren.
Oh, it was Marquardt's corner. He was in Marquardt's corner yesterday at the weigh-ins.
So what happened to Whitman?
Trevor? I have no idea. He's an incredible boxing coach. I never actually got to work with him because I was, not good enough at the time. Basically, I just got cut from the UFC. Nobody wanted to even be around me because everybody was afraid that I'd get them in trouble. So I got to watch him a lot, though, and he's a really good boxer. I don't know. I have no idea what's going on with Trevor, to be honest. But I think he was working with Neil at one point. Last time I saw him, it's been 2 years since I've been out there, maybe, though. I haven't really talked to many people, so I don't have an answer for you.
So, Tom, who are the
coaches? He's a really good boxing coach. He's very creative.
Yeah, because he was getting a ton of publicity when Carwin was challenging Brock Lesnar. But, Tom, who's the main coaches at Syndicate?
The main coach guy that's running most of it is John Wood. And then obviously they have different coaches. He's running like the MMA program.
How does John have time when he's dating Pamela? Or not? I don't know. Who is he dating? He's on that show?
No, Todd, I just saw it on Twitter. He's not dating Jenna Jameson. He just got married like 2 days ago.
That's what he told me when I was on base. He's like getting married to somebody else. Oh, somebody told me.
Yeah.
Tell me about this. Tell me about the life and times of John Wood, because his relationships are the best. I'll talk about it on public, John. I'm sorry, but everybody already knows. You're on TV talking to John right now. You can't tell. Tell me about that, Lawler. You got to know.
I don't know anything. I've only been out here for a short time. I know that he recently got married, and this is all hearsay from Instagram. is basically where I'm
Right.
getting my information. So I do know he has a hot wife, and I can confirm that he does train people in mixed martial arts, and that's pretty much all the information that I have. He's a really nice guy.
He's awesome. He's one of the coolest guys I know. You guys should go out for like a cup of tea and catch up on his relationship status. So it's got to be interesting.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I'm not much for gossip though, Todd. To be honest, you know, if I'm gonna find out, if I'm gonna find out some stuff about the relationship, I'm gonna go right into the heart of it, and I'm gonna show up while you're balls deep in your girlfriend with Mike Whitehead. I'm gonna find out what's going on. Mid sweaty
marital dispute. Oh.
Todd, this is kind of, you know, this question might be a little off, but it says, you know, you grew up down in southern Illinois, correct?
Yep.
And you were born in Indiana.
Yes, Evansville, sir.
Okay, so that was around the area where hook and shoot was big. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, as with Jeff, somebody help me out with his last name.
Osborne.
Jeff Osborne, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, sorry. So, yeah, it was right. It was Evansville, Indiana is actually right where hook and shoot was. That's the question you had, though, because I probably cut you off. Hello?
What did you have, Tom?
I'm sorry?
What were you asking him?
Oh, I was just I was wondering if he was a fan of hook and shoot as a youngster. And I'd also like to add that, you know, hook and shoot's going to be on the UFC Fight Pass. Apparently, UFC's acquired their library along with a bunch of other promotions, including like Pancrase and TKO and some of the other international companies. But I was wondering if you were a fan of hook and shoot when you were a kid, because, well, hell, I was, and I was in Florida, so.
Dude, I was so sheltered and stupid that I didn't know, because it was like an hour and a half away from where I grew up, and I was so involved in other sports. I missed out on a lot of that. I didn't really find out about hook and shoot until after I was involved. And when I got down to Atlanta, I started doing some martial arts training. My brother went to school at Evansville, Indiana, at USI, and so he was involved. He's actually how I learned about hook and shoot. But to comment on that Fight Pass situation, that's awesome. Anybody that's a super fan will love that, because the hook and shoot, like Misha Tate got her first fight in hook and shoot. Is that correct? Broke her nose. I believe I was there.
Possibly, yeah.
She got like head kicked. I think she got head kicked and knocked out, or she knocked out somebody with a head kick. Like the whole hook and shoot era is, huh?
You believe you were there, or you were there? Your memory is kind of piss poor. Now that
it's bad. It's bad. If you want to have if there's anybody that might need to, I shouldn't be in a fight game. It's bad.
This interview is just filled with optimism on all ends.
But you know, Tom, Todd is actually right. Misha Tate made her pro debut at Hook and Shoot 2007 in Evansville, Indiana. And she beat Jan Finney, and then she got knocked out a head kick by Caitlin Young.
Tournament, yeah. I was there for that, Tom. Live.
That is pretty impressive, I must say.
Now, she's a heat magnet. I mean, everybody just kind of dissects everything that she says. And she seems, especially since she got the implants, I mean, her popularity has soared.
Good for her.
Have you noticed?
That those are implants?
Oh, they gotta be, man. There's no way you don't go through a growth spurt when you're 26 years old.
But she could be on her period for the past couple years.
Possibly.
That's running it straight through.
But I had made some jokes like that, and I might have even made some jokes about Brian Caraway. But I actually, after the last UFC, I forget the name of the fucking bar, but I talked to him for a little bit, and he's actually a really nice guy. I think he gets too much shit from people.
No, Brian Caraway's a dick. I'm gonna say that loud on radio. My experience with him, I said hello to him 4 times. I said, hey, Brian. Hello, Brian. Like, I'm in the cage, like, shadowboxing, and he's, like, walking through doing his thing, and he just stonewalls me 4 times in a week. It hurt my feelings. He's a dick.
He's got no time for you, huh?
None. I was just trying to be polite. I was in his gym at the time, I felt like. I was at a stream tour. I was like, "Hey, Jim, I'll say hello." But from my experience, he may be a great guy and just too busy for me.
Yeah. So, Tom, who else in the Vegas scene is just a complete asshole? You got anybody?
No, I haven't run into too many guys. I will say
Tom Lawlor.
Yeah,
Tom Lawlor.
Besides me. I did run into a few years ago, and I'm not sure if he's still even out here, and I'm kind of scared to even mention the name, but I tried taking a picture with Gilbert Ivel at the UFC Expo, like a selfie.
Yeah.
And he totally just blew me off.
Yeah.
And kind of like, you just walked away like I was some scrub, which I mean, I am technically, but I mean,
well,
in all fair,
you've won more UFC fights than him.
That's true. He's not even really.
Nice. In all fairness, though, like Gilbert's actually a pretty goofy, crazy dude, but he does have a mean streak right here. So, like, let's talk about that, Tom, because I've been guilty of that. I'm sure you have too. I mean, how many times do you have the people just pulling you 19 different directions, and you're just trying to get something accomplished? Like, does that happen to you? You're more friendly than me, obviously, but come on.
To be honest, not really. I mean, I usually wear, a UFC shirt or tap out shirt or some other article of clothing that would make sure everybody knows I'm a fighter so that people come and talk to me. But I get a lot of people walk by and look back at me and then just turn and shake their head to their friend. Like, is that, no, we're not going to go over there. That guy's some scrub. Like, we didn't even want to waste our time. So kind of like how Brian Caraway acted towards you. That's what I get from the majority of fight fans.
But, I can kind of see why Brian Caraway would no-sell you like that because, he's a big deal now. Misha Tate's boyfriend. I mean, that's of an enviable position. I can kind of see how he would big league you. You don't think?
Oh, man. I'm not moaning because I'm peeing right now. I'm moaning because that's hurtful.
I mean, Misha's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, no, of course, but I don't know how he does it. Like I've heard like I can't imagine dating a girl. I mean, my ego's got to be too big, but to date a girl that's in the same profession as you, I mean, they're not even dating at this point. They're probably gonna get married. They're probably living together and all that mess. And then her like just not only outshine you, but just out everything you. I don't know how he's probably more man than we are for just being able to handle that. I would think, right? No?
Maybe he's very secure.
Misha Tate's girlfriend.
What do you think, Tom? Could you
that's a tough question. I don't know. Brian Caraway is pretty damn good. I mean, he almost, he went the whole distance with a Sun Shao. It's not like he's a scrub. He just doesn't get the notoriety as Misha, the same notoriety because he's not as attractive. And I apologize to him. I apologize to him if he thinks he is, but I mean, she's better looking. But I wouldn't be able to handle it. I don't think I'd be able to handle dating any of these female fighters. Maybe Rin Nakai, simply because I couldn't understand a word she says. So you probably get a.
Now, how about a WWE diva?
Oh God, are you kidding me? Sign me up.
You guys are both wrestling fans, though, right? I think. That's the impression I have. If somebody put Alexa Bliss in front of me right now, I'd be going to jail.
Is that a porn star?
No, it's a WWE diva in NXT, Brian.
Oh, okay.
She was a fitness model as well. She's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I think everybody is a fitness model now because of Instagram, though.
Well, speaking of which, you yourself, Todd, were a fitness model, weren't you?
I may have some experience in the modeling industry.
I will translate that as you did have some experience in the modeling industry. Is that what you said?
I mean, I'm not saying I didn't take some pictures.
So, did you have to do one of those casting couch things with Pat Patterson to get that cover of Muscle and Fitness?
I can't recall.
Sounds like a yes.
I don't remember that time of my life.
Now, Tom, did you hear how Did you hear how Virgil got his job at WWE?
I have heard about this.
You heard the story? I mean, I heard that he was in Pat Patterson's office and Pat Patterson asked Virgil if he could see his cock.
Yeah.
Is that the same story you heard?
Yeah. Yeah, I heard it. I've read and heard that it was more than that, but I was neither there to confirm nor deny. We could, like I said, we could try to get a hold of Virgil's twin brother Vincent from the NWO and see if he has any information on that story. But
here's the thing: I wanted to get Virgil on the show, but he charges $1,000 per radio spot.
What am I doing with my life? What?
$1,000.
I'm doing this for free.
I know.
You very clearly never been the $1 million champion, Todd.
No. Very true.
Now, Todd, did you ever consider getting into wrestling? Because, you have the right look for the WWE.
I don't think I have enough personality. Let's just leave it there. Tom did ask if I was comatose when you guys called earlier, which I am a little tired. But what happened to me when I got cut? The only experience I had was everybody's always tried to push me that route, but I was a fan up until I found out it was fake, and I was about 10 years old. And I was pissed. I was mad, real mad. But long story short, who's that guy that does all the stuff down in Tampa, right around you, Tom?
Brisco?
Jerry?
Jerry. Yeah, Jerry and me had a couple phone conversations, but my ego was so messed up, and I wanted fighting so bad that I couldn't. It probably would have been may or may not have been a better career move. Who knows? Yeah, that was it. He told me I'd come out for a tryout, whatnot, and I just never really wasn't interested. Wasn't for me.
Yeah, he travels the country, recruiting guys, football players, fitness models, wrestlers. He's still going at it strong.
Yeah, he's a man, apparently. Not. So, all right, this is boring. This is awful. I'm sorry, guys. Brian, you're a mystery to me.
Yeah.
So I got questions.
Sure.
So all you are to me is the guy, and I'm sorry, maybe more, but to me, you're the guy that breaks random news that nobody knows, and then started as a rumor, and it becomes true at about the time a month later. Is that accurate? Is that who you are? Or?
Yeah, kind of like the CM Punk thing. I reported that, and then about 2 weeks later, they had him on pay-per-view announcing that he had signed.
How have you not got off?
How have I not what?
Got off. How come you haven't disappeared?
I don't know, man. I know Dana White really doesn't like me. I don't think.
Yeah.
But
I hate you.
But I get the impression that a lot of people kind of secretly kind of like what I'm doing. But
it's fun for him, yeah. That's kind of it looks like because you've developed almost like a following, a fan. Even I follow you on Twitter, I think.
Yeah.
I don't even look at Twitter. I just go on there and say weird stuff and disappear.
Yeah, and that reminds me. You were the most difficult person to get on this. I'm reading your responses, and I'm just like, is this, what the fuck is wrong with this guy?
What do you mean?
You just talk in circles, and I'm like, do you want to talk or no? And you're like, well, I get to ask the questions, and I'm like, oh my god, what is this guy talking about?
I was bored. It's Twitter. How can you take anything serious on there at all?
No, but this is when we were trying to set it up, when I was texting you or DMing you.
This was what?
This is when we were trying to set this up.
Yeah, that's the funnest part, messing with you.
But I'm a big deal. You can't mess with me, man.
What are you going to do? I've already, I don't know. Yeah, you're right. I shouldn't even be talking to you.
You might get some heat from the office.
You took. I think the best part is that people take that all serious, and that's I guess it is. That is my online personality. I should probably tighten that up a little bit, huh?
Well, what do you think, Tom? You're a UFC fighter. Do you kind of watch what you say online because maybe the bosses or the guy that runs the code of conduct, the great Christian Matt Hughes, might object to some of your comments?
Yeah. Well, before we go any further, let me just say I've had one instance where I met Matt Hughes, and he bitch slapped one of my best friends, Seth Petrozelli, in the midst of a joke. So for him to be given like anybody advice on the code of conduct kind of blows my mind. But yeah, I do watch what I say to a certain extent. But luckily, I don't have that much bad stuff to say about people. I try to, internalize all my bad comments and just throw them back at myself. So, get a lot of self-deprecating humor from me. But yeah, you definitely got to watch out, especially now with the way the internet is and how quickly news travels. And with so many guys under contract, you're kind of like, you got to watch yourself. You're dispensable to a certain degree unless you're one of these top guys. So there is some stuff that I hold back, but it's not anything bad against the UFC or anybody else really.
So what about you, Todd? Do you like consciously say, maybe I shouldn't write this or?
Brian, we've been on the phone for like at least 20 minutes. Do you think I think before I speak at all?
Very little. Very little.
Yeah. All right.
So how have you not drawn the ire of the great Matt Hughes, the director of the Code of Conduct?
I don't know, man. I went up to the Matt Hughes training facility.
Oh, you were there too?
I went up there to hopefully get involved with the hit squad when it first came out.
Oh yeah.
It was close to like home and stuff like that. My dad was sick, and he told me to come up that weekend, and he just flew out that same day I arrived. So I don't have much experience with Matt. I mean, I've seen him around Robbie coming in to help his camps out. We spoke a little bit here and there, but I don't know the fella.
He's one of those guys. He's one of those guys that it's very difficult to find anyone who likes him. I mean, it's next to impossible.
I thought that was me, but damn. All right. So Brian, let's get back to you. So talk to me. Like, so you're a pro wrestling fan first at heart. I'm just making an assumption, obviously.
When I was
got involved in the MMA, and you weaseled your way into the hearts of these fighters, or like, how are you getting your information, man?
Well, I just started going to a lot of these shows, and I think when I met Tom, I think it was UFC 111, GSP, and Hardy. And
this is correct.
Yeah, a lot of these things just kind of develop just sitting in the bar talking fights and stuff, and then you go to enough of them, and they kind of remember you, and you just kind of build a little rapport with them, and they're willing to share some information. But a lot of times, information that's shared, it kind of benefits their agenda. So you kind of have to be careful with what's put out there.
So you're saying you share information directly from the fighters?
Well, usually fighters are not the best source because a lot of them don't like to gossip too much, and they don't know if something they say will get back.
Love gossip.
So it's more the managers love to talk.
Huh? It's more the managers. Yeah, it's always the managers. Actually, you're right.
Yeah,
100% the managers always. I have more questions for you, man.
So that time that I met you, Tom, we were at what, Newark? Was that there?
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up. So Todd, let me tell you this little story here. So I'm on my way.
Does he look like a troll?
No.
Oh.
Well, it depends.
Go ahead.
I mean, what kind of troll? There's a variety of trolls. I mean, are we talking like a treasure troll? Or are we talking, like a velocity gnome? I mean, there's a lot of different things. Travelocity.
I was hoping for yeah, I love treasure trolls, man. Those spiky hair, those are cool. He couldn't be that cool.
Oh, come on.
Sorry, man.
All right. So Todd, let me tell you the story. I'm on my way to Newark, and I'm going to meet up with my friend, who's just so happens to be at the hotel bar. And he goes, "You got to get here." I'm sitting next to this guy, and he knows everything about the UFC. Everything. So I show up, and there's like two people in the bar. And it's my friend, and it's Brian, lo and behold. And I start talking to him, and I'm like, holy shit, this guy knows more about myself than I do.
Right.
That was it. That was the first meeting. And ever since then, I've been a fan.
That being said, I found out that I wasn't fighting in the Germany card via the internet. And Brian probably broke that news for all I know.
Who are you supposed to fight?
I was supposed to fight Mustafa Al-Turd. Remember when they signed Crow Cop out of the blue? And they, he's obviously quite a bit bigger of a draw than I am, so...
Yeah, they brought him in, and then didn't Crow Cop like turn on the UFC and said he was going to leave, and then Ariel Helwani like cut a promo on him that he took a lot of heat because he buried Crow Cop.
I remember that. I remember that instance, right? Like Crow Cop I thought he was under contract, but then they started saying that there was some sort of contract issue, and I'm not sure exactly what happened there.
I think what was happening, they were having trouble selling tickets, and apparently there's a large Croatian population in Germany, so they said, oh, we'd better get this guy to save the card. And so they brought him in only for one fight deal, and then he said, no, I'm going to, I don't know, maybe he was going to Dream or something? I can't remember.
That could be pretty accurate, but all I remember is Cole Miller getting a picture of Crow Cop and me thinking I came to Germany and my corner's getting a picture of the guy that took my fight. I think that's actually pretty accurate though, because like that Germany card, like UFC 99, I remember like they were getting a lot of kickback from the like citizens and whatnot of Cologne, Germany. Like it was like not initially they were having trouble getting like, because I guess Germany's very conservative since what they did to the rest of the world. They feel bad about that.
Yeah, like if you were under 18, you weren't allowed to attend that event.
Right, I think that, there was a lot of like weird stuff going on like that. But, I mean, they've gone back since. I'm sure they're doing good, right?
Well, I think they went to Berlin, and, it was a kind of a shitty show. I mean, it didn't really have much on it. I guess they sold 7,000 or 8,000 tickets, which is pretty good, But they haven't brought anything major.
I know they went to Dusseldorf.
Dusseldorf,
as well. Because I remember...
Was Yushin Okami on that against Mark Munoz?
I believe it was maybe Okami and Marquardt.
Oh, okay.
Does that sound right? I could be wrong on that one.
Yeah, I know Yushin won a fight over there to get the Anderson fight, I think.
What are you doing bringing Yushin to mainline a card in Germany when they're already having trouble? Just saying. I like Yushin, but he's boring.
Yeah. You guys know about the story? Chael Sonnen's mom pulled a gun on Yushin.
No, but this sounds awesome.
Yeah. So she, her husband died about 10 years ago. Pat Sonnen, as Chael's dad. So she lives alone. Okay, and she knows her way around a firearm. And this is when Yushin was training with Chael. So Chael would have a full house, so Yushin would stay with his mom because she has this big house, big property, and it worked out well because she had an empty house, and Chael was like, oh, it's good to have some protection around my mom, and but Yushin doesn't tell Mrs. Sonnen, Claudia, he doesn't tell Claudia that he's coming over to her house that night. So she has no idea. So he just walks in the house, because it's Oregon, they leave the doors open. And so she hears him kind of enter the house. So she goes into her bedroom, locks the door, and takes her gun out and starts yelling at him through the door, like to get the hell out of there, or else she's going to open the door and start shooting. But Yushin doesn't understand English. So, I mean, she tells the story a lot better than me, but so Mrs. Sonnen pulled a shotgun on Yushin Okami, but everything worked out.
I hope so. Hey, so what do I rank on the scale of worst guess? Am I at least in the top 5?
No, this has been... Go ahead, Tom.
Well, for me, you're number 2. Well, you're the last. You're at the very bottom.
But I've actually enjoyed this, Todd, because, I was talking to one of my buddies, who was giving me some criticism of the podcast, because he listens to all these fucking podcasts. And he said, I hate these standard interview podcasts. I'd much rather prefer to listen to something where the guys are just talking and I'm kind of a fly in the room. I
just don't understand how that doesn't happen when you have a guy like Tom on the podcast. He's cool, apparently. That's what I hear. I don't actually feel that way about it personally, but
this is only like our third or fourth interview together, right, Tom?
It's actually the second one.
Oh, okay.
So Todd, don't feel too bad when I said you were last. Because my personal hero, Dave Meltzer, was the first interview that I did, so I don't think anyone's ever going to hold up to that. But so far...
Who was it, Belcher?
Yeah, Dave Meltzer. No, Meltzer, not Belcher.
Meltzer. Okay, yeah. All right.
Alan Belcher, he'd be an interesting interview, too. He's a pretty cool guy.
He's like one of the coolest guys. He's cool. He's one of the coolest guys I've been in the sport, for sure. Really interesting guy.
Well, yeah, he's relaxed. He's real relaxed. He's really cool. Really cool guy. That would be a good term to use.
And he has a really cool tattoo also.
I don't think that poor guy. I don't think that makes a difference.
You don't think my endorsement of his tattoo is lifting him up, lifting his spirits?
So, Todd, who would you like to see Tom dress up next when he makes his return to the UFC?
Oh man, I'd like to see him take it like more manly. Disco. I don't know. Give me some. Tom, what are your 3 top picks right now? I know you've been working on it. Don't even mind. You've been thinking about it a lot.
Well, number 1 would, of course, be Todd Duffee, the Duff Man himself.
Yeah, did you pull that off?
Well, I'd probably have to wear like one of those muscle suits, and he may be the only person who I would have to actually make my jaw bigger than. So. What do you? Well, you and Antonio Bigfoot Silva.
Yeah, his face is bigger than mine, actually. Yeah.
I guess those would be. Hopefully. So we've got Todd Duffee, we've got Bigfoot Silva, and based on this conversation, I guess the third person will probably be Misha Tate.
That's what you should do.
That's not her.
Done deal. I'd like to see him come out as Misha Tate, Ryan. Answer your question? Well, certainty. That's what I feel. Yeah.
Well, Tom, put in Misha Tate before and after. You got your computer in front of you.
Yeah. Well, I have mental images as well, Brian.
Okay.
Don't worry. They're stored away. I've got a special bank just for them.
And for some reason, Kat Zingano's picture comes up when you put in Misha Tate. I mean, look at these fucking arms on her.
That's probably not what I'd look at first. But.
Well, she's got some fake ones, too.
Can we talk about her?
I think so.
That's a crazy story, Brian. You want to tell it? I want to hear more details about it. I'm sure you know more about it than I do.
You're trying to make me step on a landmine, and no, I'm not going to talk about that.
I was just asking. I was very curious. She's cool, man. I've got to meet her a few times in the room with her, training room. She's a cool chick. I don't know much about that. I was just gonna, as a landmine. Sorry. I was curious. The
only thing I know is like they had filed for divorce in October, and then he committed suicide like in January.
Well, I mean, if she wants to feel better about it, I killed my own father by losing to Mike Russo, so she shouldn't feel terrible.
My Lord.
Like, it gets worse than that, I think.
Yeah, that's a shame. I feel bad that you lost your dad there. I mean, you were, what, 25?
No, it's my fault, though. We actually got to share the same emergency room. So it was comforting, I suppose. I was there the next day with him.
Now, Todd, to go back to
it, obviously.
Todd, to go back to that fight with Mike Russo, being a kid growing up in Illinois, I mean, did perhaps the fact that he's a cop in the state of Illinois, did that play into it? Were you kind of scared when you get out there in the octagon? Did you have some, some reservations?
I did build him up quite a bit to be something he wasn't. Maybe that helped. No, man, I think I just went in there to fight a box, and the reality of that fight, not to like make this an unfun answer or whatever, but I went out there and did everything I wanted to do in what I came out there to do. The problem was I didn't look to finish him, and I didn't go outside of just boxing. I should have fought him. I had a little knee injury. I tore my MCL like 3 weeks before. I'm sure your good friend Mike Wyatt told you that because he did it. But yeah, I mean, like, no, him being a cop, I could have made, whatever. I hate that fight.
All right.
My entire life is now trying to not make that the pinnacle of my career.
I hate to be the buzzkill here, but we gotta throw Todd off here so we can get to Jeff Aronson, your former manager there. Is that okay, Todd?
Man, Jeff will hopefully bring some energy because I have none. It's fine by me, guys. I hope this was decent for you.
No, I thought
good for you. It's good for me.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting, and hopefully therapeutic for you because we beat you up a little bit.
Yeah. Thank you for helping with my emotional insecurities. I do appreciate that. Maybe next time I'll sleep the night before. We can do it again. I'll perform better.
That's what she said, right?
Well, that's usually what I say.
All right, guys. Good talking to y'all.
Good talking to you. All right? Take care, Todd.
All right, see you guys.
All right.
Take care.
Oh, man. He's one of a kind, huh?
Wow. He's really down on himself.
Yeah.
All the time, huh?
I thought I'd read some articles that said that he was feeling better about himself, but I guess not. All right, we got our next guest on the line with FRB and Filthy Tom Lawlor. His name is Jeff Aronson. He's the CEO of Titan FC. How's it going, Jeff?
Great. How you doing? How you guys doing?
Good, man. Thanks for taking the time, of course. And just wanted to dive right in because there's been some talk about Titan. You canceled one show or two shows. I don't know exactly. So it caused some people to start talking about the future of Titan because, we've seen a lot of promotions kind of go by the wayside. So I just wanted to get you on to get it directly from you. What's going on with the TV deal?
Yeah, so I really appreciate you having me on to talk about it because it was actually one show that was canceled. It was the January show. There never actually was a February show booked. And then in March is Mobile Arrow Fest, which will basically be a Titan Night of Champions, where I believe it's 4 title fights that night. So it's also a massive event for us, a week-long, festival in Mobile, Alabama, benefiting the wounded warriors and all that stuff. So, that's taking the forefront of what we've been doing. But as far as the TV deal goes, it seems like everybody had something to say about what was going on. Truth of the matter is, I have a TV deal with CBS Sports Network. I have the option for another 14 shows on CBS Sports Network after this next show. We also have been approached by 3 or 4 massive organizations to put Titan on, and we're in negotiations and talks with them as well. Also securing international rights and distribution worldwide. So any talk of Titan losing its TV deal or anything else is completely false. And if anything, this is far better for the fans and for the fighters, which is something I've always stressed from day one when I purchased the organization.
Jeff, can you talk a little bit about some dealings with Netflix, perhaps, that you've had?
We've been dealing with a lot of people. There's been a lot of negotiations going on. A lot of people have been approaching us. At this point, I wouldn't want to name names of people that we're actively talking to, but there are definitely different digital platforms that we've been speaking to, and it's kind of exciting because we're on the cusp of this new digital world, and things are really transcending over into that, and I think Titan is in position to be one of the front runners in that side of the industry. So we're looking forward to it for sure.
Do you think that perhaps there'll be a move towards, as the media world changes, as far as digital subscription services and that sort of thing goes? Do you think there's going to be a change in the mixed martial arts business towards that model, perhaps, rather than being broadcast, live on cable television?
Yeah, I think now with all the smart TVs and Apple TV and, all the different avenues that people have through Xbox, through, PlayStation, through, all the different avenues of getting, things like Netflix, like you just brought up, or things like Fight Pass, or all different type situations. I think it's now becoming more the norm than it is becoming obscure. It's certainly, technology in the last 5 years has progressed maybe more than it had in the last 100 before that. So we're seeing a digital world, we're seeing a new world, and I think we're right on the forefront of it with what we're doing and people that we're speaking to. So, I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, Jeff, I think you're right. You're headed in the right direction. Like with this, I think they call it over-the-top programming. Right. Going through like Netflix, that's called in the industry, and I think it's definitely the future because I've only gotten into it like Netflix and the WWE Network and Fight Pass. I've only kind of discovered it within the past year or so. Like I didn't, and now I'm like, wow, this is great, and I barely watch cable. So I think it's, and I'm young, I'm in my early 30s, so I can just imagine maybe some people that are older, they don't want to change, but I think people will be more open to change going forward.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, I'm 42, so I'm a little bit older than you are. And I don't know how many people know or don't know. I was the founder of Cash for Gold. If you remember, a few years ago, we did the Super Bowl commercial with Missy Hammer and Ed McMahon. And,
sure.
We were the largest buyer of TV media in the world for 4 years straight. And in those days, there would have been no thought put in whatsoever of going through these other platforms to advertise or to monetize or to do anything like that. And with the speed that this has caught up, over the last 4 or 5 years, it's just absolutely amazing. So, where we're looking at something that used to be highly rare that somebody would be using it today. Like I said, it's the norm. My kids go up to the TV, they put on their Apple TV or whatever they're using at the moment. They look, they're watching YouTube on TV, they're watching Netflix, they're watching all these different programming outlets in this virtual world, and it's great. I mean, it's just more and more choices, and places like Netflix have massive pockets, and there's a bunch of them that do that, and they're buying original content now, and it's going to be something interesting. I mean, WWE did it, like you said. UFC has done it with Fight Pass. So, I mean, I think we're seeing the trend going that direction.
Yeah. And speaking about, these new things that come up in the sport of mixed martial arts, Jeff, we've seen kind of a surgence of the female mixed martial arts community due to Invicta. And there were, some dealings between yourself and Invicta where you've outright said that you tried to purchase the company from Shannon Knapp. Can you talk a little bit about that and about your stance on women's MMA and where you see it going in the future?
Yeah, for sure. Well, just to be clear, I never tried to buy Invicta from Shannon. I tried to partner with Shannon and be with her in Invicta. I think Shannon is awesome. I think she's a businesswoman, and she has a great product. So it was a no-brainer from that standpoint. personally, I love women's MMA. I love watching it. I love the fights. Through Alchemist, I was lucky enough to participate in the first women's fight in the UFC. Alchemist manages Liz Carmouche when she fought Ronda Rousey. So, I've been around it, but I truly, myself, do not know enough about the young fighters and the vets to go after doing any female fights. On the flip side, Scott Cupworth, who we brought on to join Joe Wooster as one of the matchmakers over at Titan, is very versed in women's MMA, loves it, and keeps telling me he's going to start looking to do some female fights. So I think that's when you'll see in 2000.
Yeah, I thought that was a great move when you brought in Scott. He's really a wealth of information, like you said, knows the female fighters, and then also has a real good insight into amateur wrestling. And, with wrestling producing so many of MMA's stars, it makes a lot of sense to have somebody that has a keen interest in amateur wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, Scott Cupworth is a fantastic element of the team that we brought on this year. I have nothing but highest praises for him. I mean, if you look at where Titan started a year ago, they didn't have a TV deal. They weren't on Access TV anymore. I basically bought just the guts of the company. I left the shell behind and just bought the guts. And they had no fighter contracts, So Joe Wooster was there. Joe came with me. I secured a deal with CBS Sports Network. We put on 6 amazing shows, brought on Scott Cupworth, brought on Lex McMahon, brought on Rhett Butler. Rhett Butler was Burt Watson's second at the UFC, and was Golden Boy Promotions, has done Strike Force back of the house, and Lex McMahon's my longtime business partner. He runs Alchemist Management, also is the COO now of Titan, and we're continuously bringing people on. We brought Eric Talent on, who was a producer for UFC, and he's now producer for Titan. So Titan has been growing just at an exorbitant rate. You look at the fighters, just this week we signed Cody Bollinger, we signed Pat Healy. The company is growing and growing and growing, and I just look forward to just an explosion of 2015, and it's exciting, really exciting.
Jeff, just getting back to the over-the-top digital platforms that are out there. Of course, the one that MMA fans would know the most about is Fight Pass. Would you be open to a partnership with the UFC where Titan can be seen on Fight Pass? Because the only reason I ask that is because I know you have a very positive relationship with UFC where your fighters have a UFC opt-out clause.
Yeah, I mean, I would be open to talking to UFC about, Titan going on Fight Pass. Like you said, we do have a very strong relationship. We give all our fighters a Zuffa out clause, which I truly believe is the reason why Titan has grown so much and has been rallied upon by fans and fighters as really the de facto go-to place for, the best young prospects and the best vets that are coming out that want to work their way back into Zuffa at some point. So because of that, I think it separates us a lot from other promotions. And we don't just say it, we do it, Brian. Like, you and Tom, I'm sure you guys remember the Ben Saunders incident this year. It was 12 days before a main event, and I released Ben Saunders to go back to the UFC, and Ben goes and secures and, wins his fight. I think he got submission of the year, and that's what we're here for. The truth is we're here for the fans. We're here for the fighters. We want to see the best fights happen. And the truth is we're fans. So we're doing this with the best intentions to provide the best platform and the best product.
Now, Jeff, that's, obviously as a fighter myself, hearing you put the fighters and the fans first, that's something a fan that I've looked forward to, throughout the history of MMA. And it's great to hear a CEO, and somebody running a company say that. Now, to change gears a little bit, your past event this past month was up in Lowell, Mass. Is that correct?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And, maybe not – perhaps he wasn't the headliner, but Rick Hahn was one of the guys high up on the card. Do you see yourself – and he's from that area. Do you see yourself kind of moving in that direction where you're using locally built up stars in certain areas to kind of boost ticket sales and, drum up interest for the events in the local areas?
The truth of the matter is, Tom, that situation was kind of lightning in a bottle. Rick was released from Bellator, right, I think probably 6 weeks before that show went off, maybe a month before that show went off. We happened to be able to negotiate a deal with him. I think Rick Hahn is a fantastic fighter. I think he's one of the top lightweights, certainly a top 15 lightweight. And he was somebody that I wanted on the Titan roster. And the fact that he just happened to be from that location was clearly coincidental. I didn't go after Rick Hahn because he was, 5 minutes away from Lowell, Massachusetts. I went after Rick Hahn because I think he's got a lot of gas left in that tank. I think Rick is going to string together, some great fights, and I look forward to Rick either challenging for the Titan fighting title or continuing his path, whatever that may be.
Yeah, and Jeff, I know you touched upon it earlier, but if you could just tell us a little bit more about Aerofest in Mobile, Alabama, the dates, and some of your partners. I saw that Gary Sinise, very famous from Forrest Gump, Lieutenant Dan, is heavily involved in that festival.
Yeah, the Gary Sinise Foundation is very heavily involved. The Gary Sinise band, his band will actually be playing at the event. There'll be 45 bands over a few days. There'll be, all sorts of hero games. There'll be training the troops. There'll be Titan involved in fitness activities, and it'll be, the food vendors. Just in the mobile transit departments behind it all, and it's just this amazing get together. And the coolest thing is all proceeds go towards wounded veterans. Which there are 4 different groups behind this that are all involved, and all the funds are going to go to fund those organizations, which is awesome. So, I mean, it's something that I'm expecting and they are just a massive turnout. And it's going to be a bunch of days, and Titan's going to be down there the whole time, doing events and really working hand in hand with them, and culminating on a Titan Night of Champions.
So, yeah, the Night of Champions, that's with 4 title fights, right?
Yeah, and it'll actually be in an airplane hangar. And, there'll be veterans landing on a plane, and wounded vets getting off the plane and coming and taking their seats. And it's just going to be an amazing moment.
For sure. Tom, you have anything for Jeff?
Well, I was actually trying to find, finding out that this place is in Mobile, Alabama, or the event is in Mobile, Alabama. I had gone to a phenomenal barbecue place down there, and I was trying to find out the name, but it appears that it's closed. I know. I was looking. There was a place called Big Al's, but apparently it's closed down. I remember Alan Belcher took me to there. The best, one of the best places I've been to in a long time.
On me where I could bring my group to.
I'll figure something out for you.
I appreciate it. We're going to be down there for a week, so I'm sure we're going to get hungry.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know if you've ever sampled much of the Cajun cuisine, but I'm sure you'll get some of it there. But I can recommend boudin balls from, pretty much anywhere. I believe that's how you say it.
I actually love Cajun food, so I'm down.
Yeah. Yeah, Jeff. One last thing. I know you're a little bit tight for time here because we went so long with the Duffster, who's one of the more interesting characters that I've ever spoken to in about a decade being around the sport. But
you always taking my spotlight, Duffy. Always.
Yeah, he blew your spot, took your time, and every time we tried to get rid of him, he was just like, "Oh, why are you doing that? You're hurting my feelings." And he's like,
"Yeah." Then he sends me. He was like, "Yeah, I'm just eating up your time right now." Oh, thanks, stuff.
So, Jeff, I mean, international expansion. Well, actually, no. Let me ask you this: CBS Sportsnet, is that a time buy, or is that combination buy time? They'll pick up production, or is everything on you?
No, it's a very, very unique deal that I actually, because of the contract, can't go into. But it's not a time buy and it's not a production buy. It's a very unique hybrid situation. How that deal is structured, and again, that deal got put together because of the amount of media that I had purchased, over the years. So I was really I was really, able to put together a deal with them that I think worked extremely well. And, so far it's been great. The first leg of it, is almost over. We have the option for the next leg of it. And it'll be interesting to see what decision I make. It's just, the company has grown so much, Brian, that the offers that are coming in now are so substantial that I'm sitting back right now, really going through each one of them and making a decision on how we want to play this out.
Well, that's exciting. I mean, that's great for the sport because UFC and Bellator are strong, and it's good for these guys to have options. To be able to make a living being a fighter.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the things that we're doing now, it only allows me and helps me to help the fighters. And that goes the same with new sponsors that are coming on board and new deals that are being structured. And the company, like I said, is really, really strong, really doing well. And I would venture to say, in the amount of time that we've been around, since I took over the regime, if you look at what has happened with Titan versus any other promotion in the country, I would say we've had more movement and more growth than anybody else. You never see a fighter saying the bad thing about Titan ever. Everybody is happy to be fighting for Titan. They love fighting for Titan. We've gone from obscurity into the number 3, number 4 promotion in the country, depending on who you ask. It's been a pretty miraculous ride for not even a year.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I would say 3. I mean, World Series of Fighting is seemingly headed in a not so good direction. So, yeah, right. I would definitely say that you're right there at 3.
So think about that. That's coming out of basically on from a national level, complete obscurity. And you look at the roster and the guys that are on it. I mean, it's pretty substantial.
Yeah, for sure. For 1 year to have the promotion and to be at this point is, definitely it says a lot about you and your staff, the way that you've been able to put everything together. But Tom, you have anything for Jeff before we let him go here?
No, I was just wondering, for the people, I guess there's 2 questions. For the people out there who are like myself and semi-retarded, I've heard you mention this a few times, that you were one of the biggest buyers of media. Can you just explain what that means, Jeff?
Yeah, I founded Cash for Gold. Cash for Gold was 2008, 2009, 2010, and 2011, I believe, the largest buyer of direct response media in America. Our commercials were on 24/7. We did a Super Bowl commercial in 2009. And that's involved with all the networks, all the radio stations, all of that stuff. So being able to formulate a TV deal that made perfect sense for the promotion and and for what our needs was something that was right up my alley.
Perfect. Okay, yeah, that kind of explains it a little bit. I guess just the terms kind of threw me off there a little bit. Not being an insider like yourself and Brian, I'm left wondering on some of the times. And on the other side, the second question I have is, and you may have the answer for this, you may not. Do you know exactly how many guys you have under contract, or about a rough estimate?
That's really Scott Cutbirth, and it's a loose question, but yeah, I'm going to guess between 50 and 60.
Between 50 and 60, and running running shows about monthly, or around that kind of schedule, 10, 12 shows a month, or 10 to 12 shows a year, excuse me. Yep. Are you finding a hard time getting guys fights at a rate that they want? Because I know that, just speaking from some guys in the UFC and other promotions in Bellator, across the board, basically, there's always guys that want to fight more than there are opportunities for them to fight. And I was just wondering if you're running into that same kind of problem with Titan.
Not really. I mean, everybody's been, and I got to thank the fighters in a major way. I think everybody's been very patient, knowing that it's the first year we put on the amount of shows that we said that we were going to put on. So everybody's been very happy with that. I certainly have not been getting complaints. The only issue is like when you have a card that gets postponed, you make sure that you take care of the guys that were supposed to be on that card. So, I think if you don't play favorites, you play it down the line, and you give your fighters the opportunity to shine. I think by doing that, you do the right thing, and your fighters rally behind you. And that's what happened with us.
Well, all right, Jeff, I really appreciate you taking the time and, addressing this head on. And I think we're all looking forward to a big year in 2015 for Titan, starting out with the Aerofest in Mobile, Alabama. And what's the website for that for people to go to?
ForAllTheRightReasons.com.
ForAllTheRightReasons.com. That's Aerofest. Titan FC will be there. That's in March. 4 title fights. And stay tuned for Titan's next TV deal. Could be on CBS, possibly on Fight Pass, maybe on Netflix or another channel. But it certainly never hurts to have choices. Who knows? Yeah, exactly. All right, Jeff. I really appreciate the time, and have a good night, man.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. Welcome to the FRB Show. I have a very special guest today. He's a world champion, the Bellator featherweight world champion. His name is Patricio Pitbull. He's 22-2, I believe, and he's joined with his manager, or one of his managers, and translator, Matias Aquino. What's up, guys?
Hi, Brian.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, Pitbull. So I just wanted to, I was reading up a little bit on your background, and it said, you spent some time at Shoot to Box and then made your way over to Team Nogueira. But I know now that you have your own team. So what's your current training situation? Just kind of take us through your training time as a pro fighter.
Diz que estava vendo sua história, né? Que você teve um tempo na Shootbox e depois foi para Tinogueira, mas agora você está no seu próprio time. E ele quer saber como é a sua situação atual, como são seus treinos hoje em dia.
Quando eu fui na Shootbox e fui para Tinogueira, foi apenas por ter um grande centro, mas meus treinos sempre faço por aqui, em Natal. E agora eu pude fazer um verdadeiro centro de treinamento, que no Brasil aqui as coisas são mais difíceis. Tinha que antigamente viajar para outros cidades maiores para poder ter um suporte melhor, mas mesmo isso é diferente. E agora estou em casa, tudo melhor, tudo está melhor.
When I went to Shootbox in Tinogueira was because I needed to be a part of a bigger structure, but my toughest training has always been here in Natal. and now I made my own team. I was able to bring everything that I need, and I have everything that I want in order to prepare.
So who else do you have there at the Pitbull Brothers gym?
Quem mais está na academia Pitbull Brothers?
Eu, meu irmão, Beto Coelho, Jason, Maldonado, De Silva, Leandro Igor, sei lá,
me, my brother, Beto Correia from UFC, Ronnie Jason, Fábio Maldonado, Douglas De Silva, who's fighting next month in the UFC as well, Leandro Igor, and several up-and-coming guys that he hopes to introduce in the near future.
Wow, so that's a really, really good room that you've developed there. You know, I always got confused. It seems like Ed Soros and George, I don't know how to say his last name, so I won't even try. But
Guimarães.
Yeah, right. I'll take your word for it. So basically, they seem to be like the United States representative for some of these Brazilian fighters, that they kind of handle them in the United States, but then they also have a manager in Brazil. So like that happened with Aldo and I think Junior. So like, how does that work? Like, what's the arrangement? Like, how does it benefit the fighter to have two managers?
Ele falou que, pelo que eu entendo, né, Ed e Joinha são meio que os representantes dos lutadores dos Estados Unidos, mas geralmente o pessoal que está com ele, eles têm um representante no Brasil, tem um empresário no Brasil. E ele quer saber como isso funciona para o lutador e como é essa questão de você ter dois grupos de empresários, né, no caso eles e eu.
Você complementa o que você quiser para falar. Vou fazer o quê? Você fala a mesma coisa que os caras têm que fazer. Você acha dos caras?
He told me to complement what he said because everything is to his benefit. In my relationship with Joinha and Ed, we complement each other's work. You know, everyone has each responsibilities, and since I'm here with him in Natal as well, so I can take care of more of his life stuff, small things and big things, and they take care of things like contracts and negotiation with Bellator.
Okay, yeah. Well, that makes sense. Now, I know you got a big fight coming up January 16th in Temecula, California, against Daniel Strauss. And if you could, tell us a little bit about the first fight in 2011 that you won a unanimous decision.
Ele falou que você vai lutar no dia 16 contra Daniel Strauss, e se você puder, para falar um pouco sobre a luta de vocês, né, em 2011, que você venceu por decisão unânime.
Foi uma luta dura, chegamos a achar que ia me dominar e fazer sofrer por 15 minutos, e eu fiz ele sofrer por 15 minutos. Eu mostrei a ele que o jogo de grappling também é duro. Até então, acho que poucas pessoas não viram lutar nessa parte, mas nas vezes que foi necessário lutar, eu consegui domínio total. Né? Teve a minha estreia pela turma contra o meu Romero, que eu finalizei em poucos segundos no primeiro round. Ele também teve muita parte de sombra queda, eu também dominei os 15 minutos, e contra Fabrício que Daniel Strauss sabe disso, talvez ele venha com uma estratégia diferente nessa nova luta, mas estou preparado para tudo, também consciente do que pode vir.
Daniel Strauss, before the fight, he said he would dominate me for the 15 minutes, and I was the one that dominated him all the time. He didn't expect me to be so much of a good grappler, but I believe because people haven't seen me doing that much, but in my first fight with Romero, I submit him very early. I was easily took him down. With Strauss as well, he didn't have any luck with me during the grappling and wrestling exchanges. And most recently, everyone has seen me against Fabrício Guerreiro, so I think Strauss might have a different strategy this time, but I'm ready for everything he can bring and I can bring a few things for him too.
Sure. Now, you obviously think that you have the advantage in the stand-up, and you did out-grapple him. Do you still think that you have that advantage? Because his background is American wrestling.
Você com certeza acha que tem a vantagem na trocação. Brian, can you repeat the end of the question after you talk about the striking?
Yeah, I just said that it's pretty clear that Pitbull would have the upper hand with the striking, but his background is wrestling. So does Pitbull still believe that he has the advantage with the wrestling, even though he doesn't come from a wrestling background in Brazil?
Se você com certeza sabe que você tem a vantagem na trocação e o forte de Strauss é wrestling, você ainda acha que nessa luta você vai ter a vantagem no wrestling contra ele, mesmo você treinando aqui no Brasil?
Da última vez eu tinha muito pouco conhecimento do wrestling, eu nunca tinha treinado com um treinador que era americano, que passou muitos anos treinando wrestling, eu nunca tinha treinado na minha frente com algumas pessoas aqui no Brasil que sabia pouca coisa desse aspecto da luta, e desta vez eu já venho aí há alguns anos treinando com o meu treinador é o Aronson. Ele agora está na minha casa, faz quase 50 dias que ele está aqui, mas o meu jogo agora está bastante sólido, nos treinamentos eu venho mostrando uma enorme diferença. O meu strike eu melhorei alguns pontos talvez eu tenha alguma mais de erro que podia ser observado por Strauss, mas eu estou bem treinado, eu penso também, sempre estou forte e rápido, e ele vai controlar desse.
Last time we fought, I didn't really have much experience on wrestling. I didn't have anyone with experience to train me. There were some guys in Brazil that had a few knowledge of the art, but I didn't have the experience of training with a high-level wrestling coach. And now I have been training for a few years with Eric Albarracin, who was the one that trained Henry Cejudo for his Olympic wrestling medal. And he's been here in my house for the last 50 days. I brought him to Brazil to prepare me for a full camp, and I'm sure I have adjusted things in my game that will make it even more troublesome to Strauss. I've also developed my striking game, and I know it's a fight and everything can happen, but I think he's going to have a very big problem coming January 16.
Matias, could you repeat the wrestling coach's name? I missed it.
Eric Albarracin.
Okay. Yeah, so he worked with Henry Cejudo in 2008?
Yeah, he prepared Henry for the wrestling Olympics.
Sure. Now, Pitbull, how are you going to win this fight? If you had to make a prediction, are you going to knock him out? Are you going to grind it out? How do you win this fight?
Como você vai vencer essa luta? Se você tiver que fazer uma previsão, se você vai nocautear ele, vai finalizar, como você vai vencer essa luta?
Eu estou preparado para defender as caras dele e até colocá-lo para baixo, mas eu estou vendo que ele está muito confiante em pé. Ele está com um treinador aí muito bom, que até o Cubos, o brasileiro. Eu acredito que ele vai arriscar na trocação, e se ele fizer isso, vai ser muito bom. Eu me empolgo também, trocação vai nocautear. Acho que a melhor sensação depois de local, acima de local, é ser campeão mundial, mas local é muito bom também. Não quero nocautear da minha chão. Da última vez foi uma luta por decisão, e dessa vez eu quero acabar com ele. Mostrar de vez, eu sou superior e ele nunca mais quer lutar contra mim.
I'm prepared to defend his takedowns and even take him down, but I've been seeing he's been developing a strong confidence on his stand-up game. He has a very good striking coach in Catel Cubis, who's a Brazilian from ATT, and I like that. It excites me because I like to trade punches and I like to knock people out. The best feeling you can have as a fighter is to win the belt, but right after that is to knock someone out. So come January 16, I'm going to finish Daniel Strauss and make sure he never wants to fight with me ever again.
So after you finish Daniel Strauss, there's a guy the baddest man on the planet, as he calls himself, Joe Warren, and that's somebody that you lost a very controversial decision to. And honestly, I think they got it wrong, that you actually deserve to win. What are your thoughts on a rematch with Joe Warren?
Ele disse que depois que você finalizar, né, definir Strauss, tem um cara que se chama o cara mais foda do planeta, Joe Warren, que você perdeu uma decisão muito controversa contra ele, né? Brian, acho que você deveria ter recebido a vitória. E quais são os seus planos que você acha de uma revanche contra o Warren depois?
Faz acho que uns 3 anos e meio que eu estou tentando essa revanche. O Bellator não me dá, ele também não responde minhas tentativas de desafio. Parece que vou ter que fazer isso ao vivo para o mundo inteiro ver, e não tem como negar esse duelo. Eu tenho certeza que eu vou vencer a luta e baixo para 61 quilos para enfrentar o campeão, mas parece que os planos da organização são outros. Eu espero que um dia meu desejo seja atendido e eu possa ter minha revanche e pôr meu cartão.
It's been 3.5 years that I've been asking Bellator for a rematch with him, but they never wanted that, and he doesn't reply to my challenge. I even told them that I would go down to 135 to challenge him as the champion, but looks like I'll have to do it on live TV, so they are unable to deny me. I've asked again to fight him to unify the 2 title belts, and looks like the organization has another things in mind. But I hope I can have my rematch in the future and clean my record.
Now, there's been a change at Bellator. Scott Coker is in there, and I know, Pitbull, you had been critical of Bjorn Rebney, which a lot of people have. Do you like Bjorn Rebney, or did you guys work it out, or do you still have negative feelings towards Bjorn Rebney?
Primeiro ele fala da sua luta com o Kua, né, que você teve a revanche, ele esqueceu, depois lembrou, falou que foi assim que você ganhou o cinturão, e disse que teve uma revanche, teve uma mudança no Bellator, Scott Coker entrou no lugar de Bjorn, e você foi muito crítico de Bjorn publicamente. Ele quer saber se você tem algum problema com Bjorn, se essas coisas chegaram a ser resolvidas, e se você chega a não gostar dele.
Quando você está numa organização e trata a negociação, é como se fosse uma família. Então, e família tem discussão. Mas eu acredito que os problemas foram resolvidos. Ele fez coisas boas para a minha carreira, para a carreira do meu irmão. E depois teve os problemas, mas tudo que está acontecendo agora já tem sido denunciado na época de Bjorn. Mas, em contrapartida, me parece que esse Bellator está dando mais força ao Bellator. Eu acho que a vai conta levando o Bellator mais a sério, está investindo mais pesado agora. Eu estou vendo em matérias que o Bellator está querendo contratar Brock Lesnar, Fedor, Gina Carano, isso é muito bom para a organização. Tem também o Patiricio como embaixador, então eu estou muito feliz na organização. Eu acredito que está andando aí no caminho certo para se tornar a organização número 1 do planeta.
When you're in an organization and you have to discuss things like contracts, you end up arguing like every family do, but things have been worried. Bjorn was great to me and my brother at some point. He ended up bad things happening, but we have settled it. Even the things that are happening to me now were negotiated before Bjorn left, and I think it's all good. But right now I see Scott Coker is bringing more power to Bellator. He brought Viacom to put more money. They're talking about signing Brock Lesnar, Fedor, and Gina Carano, and I think it's in the right track to end up being the number 1 organization in the world.
Sure. So that begs the question about the UFC, and I'm looking at the UFC rankings right now, and they have a top. Their elite guys are Aldo, Mendez, Frankie Edgar, Ricardo Lamas, Cub Swanson, and the Irishman Conor McGregor. Now, Pitbull, if you were in the UFC, where would you rank yourself amongst the UFC's top fighters?
Ele fala que isso aí traz, você falou, a organização número 1 do mundo, isso traz o assunto do UFC. Ele estava olhando o ranking do UFC, né? Então esses nomes que ele falou são os caras que estão na ordem. E ele pergunta, se você estivesse no UFC, onde você estaria ranqueado entre esses lutadores?
Digamos que por conhecimento eu me vejo disputando diretamente o título na primeira luta. Tenho uma carreira aí já com 11 anos, tenho 24 lutas.
Isso.
24 lutas, 2 derrotas aí que todo mundo acha que eu venci, então me considero vivo. Então eu não vejo que nenhum desses caras aí ranqueado atrás de Aldo fez mais que eu, além de Aldo. Então, eu acho que seria uma disputa para ver quem era o melhor do mundo mesmo entre eu e o campeão do UFC.
Let's say if you talk about merit, I see myself challenged for the belt at the start if I was there. I've been a professional fighter for 11 years. I have 24 fights, and of these 24 fights, 2 were very controversial losses that everyone thinks I won. And so I see myself as an undefeated fighter. From all these guys that you said, I don't think either of them could be ahead of me besides Aldo. And if you really want to know who's the truly number 1 featherweight in the world, it would have to be a fight between me and Jose Aldo.
Yeah, that sounds like one of those fights that, it's almost impossible for it to happen because of the two companies. But I think Pitbull wins a few more. Aldo hasn't lost since, I don't know, maybe 9 years or something. That would be a fight that, one of those dream fights that people will be demanding.
Ele fala que essa é uma das lutas, né, que é impossível de acontecer, mas que você vencendo mais algumas lutas e Aldo continuando invicto, né, que está há muitos anos invicto, seria uma das lutas dos sonhos que as pessoas estariam exigindo.
Concordo, acho que é normal ter 2 organizações que estão disputando por mídia e nessa organização tem 2 campeões peso-peso que chamam a atenção, que destrói todos os seus adversários. Durante anos fazendo isso, eu acho que é normal a galera querer ver confronto entre eles.
I think it's normal to have 2 top players as organizations in the world, and of these organizations have 2 dominant champions that have been dominating their competition, and people end up wanting to see they go at each other.
Sure. Yeah. It's been going on, since Pride in the UFC, and it'd probably be difficult to get the fight together, but to see Pitbull and Aldo in a cage together would be a great fight.
Ele fala que é uma coisa, né, desde a época do Pride, que o povo fica falando de Pride e UFC, e que é difícil, né, que isso aconteça, mas seria uma coisa muito, muito legal de se ter, você e Aldo lutando um dia.
Gostaria muito de lutar e deixar de ver esse belo mexer com o melhor lutador da categoria.
I really like to have to fight him someday and put my name at the top of the list in the history of the weight class.
Right, so January 16th, it's Bellator 132, I believe. It's in Temecula, California. It's a Friday night. It's going to be live on Spike, and it's headlined by Patricio Pitbull defending his world championship against Daniel Strauss. So definitely check that out. And Pitbull and Matthias, thanks for the time. And best of luck on the 16th. Should be a great scrap. And, thanks for the time.
Thanks. Ele agradeceu pelo tempo, né, anunciou da luta e desejou boa sorte no próximo confronto.
Agradeço pelo espaço, é importante para divulgar nosso trabalho. E falo com ele que eu acho que essa luta aí não é obrigatória, mas acontecer dentro do UFC, a gente não sabe como é que está o mercado, então as coisas podem mudar da hora para outra, assim como vai demorar a lutação. Hoje quem é a lutação do UFC, a gente não sabe se o Bellator vai ser maior que o UFC ou se vai ser a lutação do Bellator e por quanto tempo isso vai acontecer. Então não tem a coisa certa assim dizer, essa luta vai ter que acontecer no UFC, não. Pode ser que seja o Bellator também.
First of all, he thanked you for the opportunity. It's how he gets his word for for everyone to know him. And he returned about the possible super fight with Jose Aldo. It doesn't necessarily mean it has to happen in the UFC. At one point, Pride was the top organization in the world, and we don't know, the marketing is changing. We don't know if the UFC will remain the top dog for too much time, or if Bellator is going to surpass them. So this fight could be in the making, but not where people think it's going to be.
Gotcha. Yeah, and what are some of Pitbull's sponsors, if he just wants to mention them for the upcoming fight?
Right now he has Everlast Brazil, and we're in the process to finish some other deals.
Gotcha. All right, yeah, once again, January 16th, Pitbull versus Daniel Strauss, the rematch, and that's from Temecula, California, live on Spike, Friday, January 16th. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks.
The following announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
Remember this, when you're the greatest fighter in the world today, they got a name for you. They don't call you a great fighter, they call you Chael Son and beat me, if you can.
And after tonight, none of you in this ring will ever again!
You're talking to the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, kid stealing, woo, wheeling dealing, limousine riding, jet flying, son of a gun, and I'm having a hard time holding these alligators down. Woo!
I'm gonna drink a Coors Light. That's a Coors Light because Bud Light won't pay me nothing.
And I have my cold beer. You have your cold beer? If not, you are fucking jabroni.
Want to sit down with 1 beer, 2 beers, 3 beers, a shot of whiskey.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
The following announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
Welcome to the Filthy FRB Show. We're joined, of course, with Filthy Tom Lawlor and the Duff Man.
How did Tom get... Wait, time out.
I need to introduce you first. Todd Duffee.
I don't
All
even
right, now
care.
go ahead.
It's too late. You're already recording.
Yeah.
How did you let Tom be the first in the name of the podcast? Like, how'd you do that?
Well, I figured, since he's actually stepped in the octagon and he's been employed with them for 6 or 7 years, that
Brian, you break news.
Yeah, but, that's still it's not as impressive as fighting in a cage against somebody that wants to hurt you.
Brian, you serve a real purpose.
Todd, Brian breaks the news, I break the bones. All right, so I get to be first.
Tom, I hear what you're saying, but we got a lot to talk about, buddy, because I got some problems with you, sir.
All right.
You used to be a hero of mine. I guess I should introduce you. Who is this? Go ahead, Brian.
Well, this is UFC heavyweight Todd Duffee, and I don't know if you're going to do the interview or just go with it.
I haven't decided yet. We'll work on this. So, all right, Tom, I want you to know some things.
All right.
Got a lot of bones to be picked. Talking about breaking bones, we got bones to pick. So,
go ahead and lay it on me.
Tom, I grew up, you were kind of like a folklore in my early MMA days. Like
2 horns coming out. And
Tom, that's how I hang out in my apartment. That's how I hang out. Guess what I'm wearing right now? Ask me. Waiting.
You better ask Tom, because I only got 4 more questions left with him.
Yeah, I'm not going to guess what you're wearing right now.
All right, well, I'll tell you. So I'm sitting here in a gifted wife beater and a heart rate monitor on. No pants. That's what I'm wearing.
Just free balling, or?
No, I like to have like tight underwear on it, just to support. It's nice. All right, so let's do this podcast. I'll quit messing around, guys. Go ahead.
All right. Well, we've been recording for 10 minutes, but
that's fine.
So Todd, you've trained at every major camp. I mean, ATT, Extreme Couture, the one in Colorado that Carwin was at, AKA Bobby Heenan family. I mean, am I missing any?
Hardcore gym. It's hard to say. I feel like you're leaving more out than anything. I never got to go train with the Golden Glory crew. Thank God, that could have really ended my career. Yeah, no, keep going. You got a question behind that?
So, were you a big football prospect in high school? Like, how? What's your
I should have been probably. Like, I was a stud. Like, I should have been, but like the team that I was on, we had 17 kids on the entire team. Like, they were talking about like getting rid of the football program before this. Like, it was sort of like a small town community. And this is my senior year. I was like a decent prospect, so it's like recruits don't come out of Southern Illinois. You know what I mean? Like, it's just unheard of, and it's just not, they don't recruit there. But I did get some decent looks. Like, I think Mizzou looked at me, U of I, they had like conversations with me at least, but I ended up, leaving, high school early, and I wanted to stay close home to mom. So like, I ended up going to SIUC, Southern University of Carbondale, to go play. They were like D1 AA, but they were like last year's national champs. So I thought I would like to be able to start immediately and kind of just go that route. And I'd be able to stay close to home. Thank God that didn't work out.
Well, what happened?
So really what happened, I was in doing spring training. I got to put my helmet on one day of practice, and I was having trouble with one of my arms. I had bad stingers from high school. And so like I was having trouble like on my bench press, I'd like press one side up and the other side would like take some sweet time. So the trainer makes me go get checked out. I'm like just turned 18-year-old kid, trying to prove himself or whatever. And trainer goes and makes me checked out. They end up giving me an MRI, and it shows old cervical fractures. And so they were able to yank my scholarship away in my spot and give it to Brandon Jacobs, who ended up Brandon Jacobs was like this big stud guy who got in trouble at some D1 school and had to move down to D1 AA because nobody wanted to deal with him.
Is it the guy that
playing for like?
Was he the running back for the Giants?
Yeah, he ended up playing for like the Giants, but then he had trouble. Like I read recently, like he ended up he had to sit out a year, and he's like I don't know, I can't say. So sorry, Brandon, I'm not trying to talk badly about you, but he's like kind of a troubled career, I think. Like he's a star athlete, like he was a stud. You have to tell me more, but that's the guy, yeah, Brandon Jacobs. So they ended up yanking my scholarship and giving it to him, thinking that I would stick around because I was like a hometown kid. I grew up like 15 minutes from away from this college or whatever, but I didn't. I left.
But Tom, don't you think that was a good idea to yank his scholarship to give it to a guy that made it to the NFL?
I don't see how you can look at it any other way. I mean, quite frankly, when you were talking, Todd, about how not a lot of people get recruited out of Southern Illinois, right? Maybe there's a reason why. Did you ever think about that?
Well, yeah.
I grew up.
Yeah, I think about it often, yes.
Todd, I went to school in a state that is loaded with football powerhouse programs in Florida. Right?
Uh-huh.
You should know that. You live down there, right?
Sort of, yeah. That's another story to be told later, I guess. Yeah.
Well, we have time.
Oh, boy.
But you could see the level of athletes that come out of that state, right?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. They're okay. That's what's it. I was a diamond in the rough, Tom. Like, what do you want? Like, I was the rose that grew through the crack, the concrete crack. I don't know how you don't see that.
Well, I see it now.
All right, thank you, Tom.
Well said.
So where are you living now?
So I had some like real bad health issues again from my fight, this last fight. And so at the end of my fight, like a month before we closed down my gym, I was running me and my partner, we opened up a group fitness gym down in Boca Raton. I think it's been well put out there or whatever. And we ended up closing it down probably like about a month before my fight. I don't even want to get into that. But so we ended up closing the gym down, so that was really like what was kind of keeping me down there, keeping me like low financially and all that stuff. So I kind of am sitting. So after my fight, whatever, I deal with these health issues. I end up. So I just like I'm going to go back to my mom, spend some time in Atlanta. I had to do a quick little procedure on my knee. I'm already recovered from it. It was just like a week recovery. I thought it was going to be a little more involved. So I'm sitting at my mom's in Atlanta trying to figure out my next move. It's a pivotal point in my life. Ladies asked, where's Tom Lawlor? And so, you know what we did? Kurt was Tom Lawlor. He pretended to be you. He shaved his head.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Todd, where did you go on that trip? Exactly.
All over Japan. I don't remember. A bunch of different, like 8 different places. It was cool. It was a good time, though.
Wow, that sounds...
Let's focus.
Sounds like you have a lot of memories from that. You can't even remember the places you...
That's not the important. Damn it.
But it was Japan.
Yeah.
No, but Tom, why didn't you go? I mean, you had a pretty good excuse from what I remember you telling me.
Yeah.
Tell us why you went down to America.
I was recovering from a torn ACL, and I had the surgery scheduled around the same time that I would have gone on the trip. I wouldn't have been able to do anything, Todd. There's no way I would have been able to even, like, I couldn't even have barged into your room while you were pillaging a woman years ago at your house. I mean, none of that would have been able to happen.
I was in a heated conversation. There was no pillaging going on. It was a heated, serious, relationship-based conversation, as I recall. Anyways.
Somebody was in heat.
Torn ACL? Like, dude, I tore my ACL. You know what I did? I got up off the mat and said, man, I think I popped my knee. And I never had surgery.
Really?
Now,
like,
which fight was this?
No, it was like I was grappling with somebody at ACL. I was like 22. That's not important. Tom, you let down America. That's what I want to talk about. How do you have you made up for that? Did you go? Did you go to Afghanistan or Iraq? What?
Yes, actually, I did. I did go to Afghanistan last January. I went to Afghanistan and Kuwait, and I'm actually scheduled to go on another tour upcoming here, Todd, with my doppelganger, Kurt Schrout.
Now, who is Kurt Schrout?
I was invited on this tour. I just said, are you going in April?
I believe it's February.
Yeah, it's the end of February. I'm really sad I can't be there. I was supposed to be there, and now it's your turn. Go ahead and bash me.
I was actually, I actually told Kurt that I would not go on the trip if you were going, so I'm glad that...
Really? You're glad that I declined, because that's what happens. Just so you know, I have to text through it.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
So, Todd, when you were pillaging this young lady, Filthy Tom Lawlor...
Brian, don't waste your questions. Remember, we only have 5.
Okay. Well, this is a good one, though. So you're humbling this young lady, old country way, as the Iron Cheek would say, and Tom just walks right through the door?
That's how it felt. It was really Whitehead first. And you can imagine this big... Whitehead is like 290 back then. Beard, mohawk. It was a scary moment. Luckily, she was aware of who Mike Whitehead was. They had met. There was no pill. It was a conversation. One at that. She was
Todd, I'm almost positive that you were wearing a Viking helmet.
It's like Tom Lawlor, man. That guy knew grappling. He really knew grappling. He was the man. And then I talked you up, and this is no personal blow. I understand what it is to lose a fight, you know. And then I had to watch you get... So this is when you started to slowly decline to me and like, the value of you as a person, basically. When I had to... I talked you up so big. I was in the crowd. I think it was in a Vegas fight when Chris Weidman, I know he's a champion or whatever now, but like, there's no excuse. I told everyone that you were going to submit him, and I feel like you got submitted. Is that correct?
No, well, I did not submit. I went unconscious.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
it was
okay,
a
yes. Listen, Tom, I hung on to that. I hung on to that because I was like, you know what? He's a man. He did not quit. Jesus made him stop. So she starts to decline to me as a character, and then, you know, our mutual friend Kurt Schrout brings your name up to me. Oh, wait, no. Then you show up at my apartment. I'm in the middle of a fight with my girlfriend who lives with me.
Hold on, one second, Tom.
You just barged in. Tom. Tom, you just barged in with Whitehead like you own the joint. We never even met. And I was excited. I was excited to meet you.
Is this Mike Whitehead that's incarcerated right now?
But I was...
I'm not sure
out of jail. He's doing well. He's up in Oregon, I believe.
Oh, so he's out of jail?
Yeah.
Okay.
He is. So then,
Go ahead.
I have to go into the back room. I can't even hear what you're saying because it doesn't matter. I have to go to the back room and have a serious 5-minute discussion with my ex-girlfriend, I guess, and kick you out of my house, basically. It was terrible for me. And so I felt bad. You know, this was Tom Lawlor. Like, you were this grappling wizard. And I had a lot of respect for you, Tom, and it hurt me to kick you guys out. That's how I recall it. Maybe you recall it different. I'll give you a chance to speak in a minute. And then our mutual friend Kurt Schrout brings your name up to me again and mentions that you may be going on a trip with us to Japan, and my boyhood dreams are back. I'm excited. I feel good. I'm like, Tom Lawlor, 10 days. Matt Brown and Tom Lawlor are going to be there. Those guys I look up to. Those guys are men amongst men. And what do you do, Tom? Go ahead and tell everybody. Tell us what happened.
I declined to go on the trip, is what happened, Todd. I was basically, I was injured.
What does that mean, Tom? You let down the troops. You let down the troops. Why did you do that?
Let's be honest. None of those troops would have been there to see me. They're all there to see Matt Brown. That guy eats more chew than anyone.
At least 3 housewives ask about you. Little